What's up, my friends? Joe Eves with Computer Copilot bringing you another awesome training video. So in this video, we're going to talk about Photoshop and how to use the clone stamp tool.
I like pizza. I like it.
We're gonna need a cage.
Bye, Steve. Come party.
In this tutorial, I'm going to take a picture that looks like this and turn it into something that looks like that. It won't be quite that fast, but it'll be really close. Let's go. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch of stuff here. I took this picture this morning and I realized after how bad it looks. And so what I want to do is I want to make it look better. So in order to make it look better, I'm going to go ahead and use, now remember, there's a lot of different tools that you can use in Photoshop to get a desired look or feel, and it's just learning what the tools are and what their capabilities are, and then how you can use your creativity to use them. Now, what I'm going to use is the clone stamp tool, and it is one of my favorite tools for a lot of different projects, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what I can do pretty fast to clean up this photo. So I took a picture of this house, and I realized that it's pretty bad. So I want to adjust it, make it look a little bit more presentable online without changing the appearance too much to make it something that it's not. But all of this trash and stuff will be cleaned up at one point, and there'll be landscaping. But until then, I at least want the people looking online to make it seem a little bit cleaner. So in order to get going, the first thing that I'm going to do is I have the photo right here. I opened it up directly into Photoshop, and what it's done is it's created a locked background layer. So what I typically like to do is not mess with this and really get into making another layer. So what I did is I clicked and I dragged and I let it go over this right here, which is the new layer icon. So if I click and hold and drag, it makes a copy. If I just click it, it makes a new layer that doesn't have anything. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm clicking, holding down, the hand changes to a pointer finger to something that's actually grabbing it because I'm holding down on the mouse, and I'm going to drag it right over the new layer, and now it made a background layer, copy 2, copy 1. I only need one copy for this tutorial, but just to show you how it works, it's pretty handy to be able to do that. So the other way that you could do it if you wanted is you could do quick commands. Now, I highly encourage you guys that as you're learning Photoshop to learn quick commands, because it will make your editing experience much faster and more efficient. Another way I could make a layer is I could highlight the marquee tool and drag and drop this whole thing, hit Command C and Command V, and that would paste a new layer as well. Or if I wanted, I can hit Command A to highlight all of it from the marquee, Command C to copy, and Command V. Now remember, I'm on a Mac, so it's going to be Command instead of Control, and then V to paste and made another layer. So it doesn't really matter how you do it. There's multiple ways of doing it. What matters is that I copied a layer, and if you notice, the lock is not on this layer, and we want to keep it like that. We want to make sure that it doesn't have a lock on it so that when we start editing, we can actually edit this photo. So let's get to it. So now over here, now you may not, your setup may not look exactly like this. So before we get to the tool, real fast, you can see there are new windows and you can arrange things. I have mine on the Workspace Essentials default. I've got my new layer. I have the photo here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cleaning up. So I'm going to click on the clone stamp tool. Now if I click and hold down, it'll do a stamp pattern or a stamp tool. I want to make sure that it's on clicking, hold down, clone stamp tool. So if you see this, that's not the tool we're going to use right now. we are doing clone stamp tool. Now that I'm over here, you'll see it's really kind of hard to see, but I have a little round circle, and I'll kind of zoom in so you can see that. But that is basically the area that it's going to clone. So it's going to be pretty small. So what I want to do is I'm going to go over here, click here, and go to size, and I'm going to make it bigger. So now you can see by clicking this little down chevron right here, it opens up the size. And then the hardness, I'm going to keep it around like, I don't know, 50% or so. When we get into some of this other stuff, we're going to make it a lot harder, but actually we'll probably go up to like 66. But for what we're doing right now, 66% is fine. And you can adjust this and play with it. Same thing with the size. As you start editing and start using this, you really are going to be adjusting this a lot. So what I recommend again is learning the quick command so that you can actually do it without having to. You might be working on something over here and then you need it a little bit smaller. So instead of going clear over here, clicking down and then sliding this slider to the desired size, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the brackets tool. And you can see that close bracket or open bracket, close bracket makes it bigger. And all I'm doing is pressing that on the keyboard. And it makes it smaller, bigger, and smaller. So let's go ahead and actually use this to start cleaning some stuff up. The other thing that you're going to want to learn to do is zoom in and out. And so zooming in and out, you can go over to the magnifying tool or the zoom tool and you can click and drag in or out. And if you hold the space bar down, then you can kind of go faster. And holding the space bar down, see the little hand? If I'm holding the space bar down, it goes from the zoom tool to the hand, so then I can move it around. All I'm doing is clicking, so I'm holding the space bar down, and then I'm clicking on the mouse and holding down on the left button. And I'm just clicking and I'm holding it down and dragging it. But again, zooming in and out can be done by Command plus or Command minus, and that will also be something that you really want to do, navigate through this. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this sign. We've talked a lot about it, but let's get to it now. So I have this as my brush size. It's a little big, so I'm going to do it about that big, and then I'm going to zoom out just a little because I want to see the areas that I'm going to pull from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from right here on this concrete to make the concrete follow all the way through right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Option, and you'll see it goes from a big circle to kind of like a crosshair. That is where it's going to sample and clone on the photo. So I'm going to hold it down, the Option button, and then I'm going to click with my mouse. And now that I've done that, you can see it's going to see it's sampling, and it moves along this path because I'm doing that. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to hold your finger or your thumb over the Option button as you're doing this, and you're going to reuse certain areas. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and before we do that, actually, let's just get rid of this little piece of trash and show you how fast and easy it is to do. So I'm going to hold down Option, and I'm going to take a piece of this dirt right here. So I'm going to take a piece of the dirt. So all I'm doing is holding down and clicking, and I'm just clicking and taking out pieces of that dirt. So now I just took out a piece of that dirt. That rock kind of got in the way, made it. There you go. Now I just totally moved that piece of trash. And see if I take this other layer, this is also something kind of cool. So I'm just turning off the layer over here so you can see the original compared to the edited version. So now all of a sudden that piece of garbage is gone. So now I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to copy. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger because I want to make a little bit bigger of an impact. And I'm going to hold down Option, click. So hold Option down, click, and then I'm going to click, and I'm dragging. What I want to do is I want to drag on a horizontal so that I'm copying and making it seem like that this is going to keep going forward. So to do that, I'm going to make it a little smaller. It was kind of big, so I'm going to do right there. And I'm going to kind of line it up. That looks pretty good. And as you can see, I've already started to eat into the sign a little bit. Now remember, you're not really hurting anything if you don't get it exact right off the bat. So now I've taken that piece and I've kind of made my sidewalk, or part of it, but it looks really bad because I took such a big chunk out of it. So if for whatever reason you mess up, you can go over here to the history and you can scroll down and you can delete, and it'll ask if you want to delete that. Delete. Yes, I want to delete it, because in Photoshop you can only undo once, and then after that it redoes if you're not in the history. So now I've erased all of that because that brush was too big. So now I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to do it about right there. So I'm going to copy. And really all I'm worried about is the curve right now. All right, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take a piece of the curve here and go this way. All right, that looks pretty decent. And remember, it's not really going to be the focus part, so it should be okay, but I'm going to go ahead. Now, the other thing is you can see it's kind of like feathered on the side, and I need it kind of a crisp. So I want to make sure I'm going to go up to the clone tool information. I'm going to make that hardness like 95. And then that way, as you can see, if I drag it, see how crisp that is? That's what I want on the corners. So now I'm going to hold down Option again. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller by using the brackets. I'm going to sample a piece right here. And I'm just going to copy. That's a little too hard because now you can see kind of a line right there. And you don't want that. So I'm going to drop it down just a tad. And then I'm going to copy this piece. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. And all I did is copy that line so I can add a line. And then I'll kind of come down here. And that looks pretty darn good. Okay. Then if I need to resample some of this to make it look better, I can do that. All right, so I've kind of got that done. Now let's clean up this area here. And again, all I'm doing is I'm clicking and dragging. The other thing is when I hold down, if you see there's a little plus, that's where it's sampling from. So that's where it's taking it. So if I come over too far, now it's copied the corner of that sign again. So you want to make sure that you're always kind of repositioning that just a little bit. And after you've cloned over it, you can go over that part without having to worry about doing it again. So there you go, just taking that piece out. All right, now we're going to go a little bit faster since we've kind of talked a little bit about how to use this, just so you can see that this actually can be done pretty fast. And depending on what you're using it for, you can be as accurate or you can kind of go through it as quickly as you need. So there, I've got kind of that. I'll take this piece. All right. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to take and zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and remember this is something to do just so you can move quickly. I'm going to make it the brush a little bigger because this stuff doesn't matter so much that it's not 100%. So I'm just going to kind of go over, and it's just taking bits and pieces of that. I'm going to get closer to the concrete. I'm going to have to adjust it. Now there's some shadow there and I want to maintain that, so I'm going to just kind of go across so that it all kind of fits. All right, so that's pretty close. And again, this is something that I want to make sure that I'm, it's kind of broken up a little bit. So after I do that, then I'm going to copy a couple other pieces just to kind of break it up a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, get rid of that chord. Same thing, get rid of the chord. Okay, then get rid of the chord right here. So now we're starting to go a little quicker. Oops, went the wrong way. So remember, if you mess up, Command Z gets you out of it. Sometimes it might be a little too different, so you want to make sure that you kind of blend. I'm going to show you one other tool really fast once we get done, because I'm kind of going fast now just to show you. So then I'm going to zoom into this, same thing, take a copy, and then I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller here. And that looks great. Now, if this was the final piece of, like, you know, the photo that I was going to use on the end all, then I would spend a little bit more time. But where it's not, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to take bits and pieces and we'll be okay. So I'm going to take that right there. I'm going to drop it down. It was a little high. Okay. And then we have, shrink this a little bit. Zoom in so you can see right there. And all I'm doing is just kind of copying. Now I'm going to take a little piece from right here and I'm going to put it. Now that's not a very good, it's not a very good crack. So I'm going to just leave it. Kind of go like that and we'll blend it. Okay. That does look a little funky. You might have to mess with it. Let's clean up these chords over here now. So, and again, I'm just going to copy, get as close as I can. And when you got a little piece, you might not have to go as much. This one needs a little bit bigger piece here. Okay. Same thing right here. Okay. And then you can see it kind of doesn't look right there. So I'm going to teach you something that's pretty handy when you're doing this clone stamp tool. All of this stuff will kind of do it a little bit rougher so you can see what you can do with it. So go ahead and kind of go up, copy it, copy, oops. And it's okay if you mess up a little bit, you can sample from different spots. Sometimes it's better to sample from the other, a little bit farther away, just to kind of give it some consistency. Okay. All right. Now we're just going to get the rest of this. And I'm just holding down the option on the clone stamp tool so that I can change kind of the way that looks. Now we just have a little bit to do right here. And a little bit right there. And if you're worried you can't see it, don't be afraid to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. I'm just taking little bits and pieces. We'll make it a little bit bigger now that we can copy pretty much any of that. That looks pretty bad right there, so we'll make sure we get that. I'll clean it all up. There we go. Okay. Zoom out a little bit. We got a little bit right here. Make the brush a little bigger. Okay. Oh, we got a Coke bottle right there. Okay. And we've got just a little bit more right here to take care of. Make sure you're on the right layer. And there we go. All right, so I've kind of, well, we got our worker guy right here too. So there's two ways that I could do that. I could just cut him out or leave him there and just crop the photo, which I'll probably, because it's such an easy thing, I'll probably just end up cropping him. But you could cut him out. So now I've got that part done. Let's go ahead and finish up right here. And I'll go a little faster. So if you can hear me clicking, all I'm doing is adjusting my brush. And we're going to go ahead and copy again. And I got a little shadow from nothing. And then you just kind of want to drag it to mix some of that up so it doesn't look like a pattern so much. Okay. All right. Now we just have this part of the sign. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little smaller. All right, go to about right there. And there's a little, see the shadow right here? I'm going to kind of follow that. I went too high, so it copied part of the concrete. That's okay, because I'm just going to clone over it again. Okay. Then I'll take some pieces from here. Oh, I don't want that sun because it needs to be shadow. Then I'll make this curve a little bit bigger. Okay. We're getting really down to the end of this. Really, this other stuff should be pretty fast. Oops. That's the other thing. Just don't get so in a hurry that you mess everything up. But as you can see, just clicking, dragging, and I've kind of cleaned that up. Okay, so now just have one more piece and it'll be done. And now you can see I'm just kind of clicking some other parts of this. And it's nice if you don't have anything else in there. We got a little bit of a shadow that I need to continue on here. Okay. All right. So now I just got one more little thing I really want to work, two things really. I've got a little bit of a issue with some cement bags. So I'm going to go ahead and move those over. And it's a little darker, so you're not really going to be able to tell too much. And then I've got some right here. And then I just have a little bit. I'm going to take some of this, go down to here. Then I'm going to take a portion right there. Basically copy that. All right, and then here. Okay, so now that I've made all of this, and you can see that some of it doesn't exactly match, and so we need to fix that a little bit. And it really depends on how like meticulous you want to be on it. If it's something that they're going to zoom in and go, oh wow, what was that? But you can see like some little pieces of stuff right here. So then what I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to this tool right here, which is the healing brush tool. Hold down and do spot healing. And then I'm going to make this brush a little smaller, and I'm going to click and drag. And all that's going to do is it's going to sample some of the stuff around it, and it's going to kind of just blend it a little bit. And if it's done right, it'll actually smooth some of the color variations and other issues that you run into. Okay, so that looks good. Do I have any others? Yeah, I got a couple right here. So I'm going to click and drag. And then you can make the brush a little bit bigger, and that will sample a little bigger piece. And that part looks worse, so we're going to go back, just do right there. There we go. Same thing here. And it's just taking all of the information right there close and just trying to blend it. And I've got some pretty rough stuff. And I did that on purpose to show you like how powerful this tool can be. So you don't want to get too close to some of this stuff where it blends and pulls from a different area that you don't want to use. Okay, I got a little bit of something right here that I need to fix. So I'm going to go back to the clone tool, make my brush a little bit bigger. There we go. That's good enough. All right, now that I have that up, I got a little bit of another sign over here and some trash. So I'll just clone this. Same thing. Just take little bits and pieces. The other thing too you can do is if you want to be a little bit more particular and you don't want to hit into anything, then you can use the Polygon Lasso tool. And all I did is click. If it's not on that, it might be on the Lasso tool. So then click and hold down to Polygon Lasso. And then when I do my clone tool, it's not going to go outside of that box. So I really could have ran a line down there and done that a little bit faster, but I just wanted to show you how to kind of do that. So now I have my photo. It's a little bit, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. So it's a lot cleaner than it was. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it just a teeny bit. Actually, before I crop it, I'm going to do a quick little adjustment just to kind of adjust some of the lighting. and mix with some of the levels a little bit. Okay, so now, maybe move the saturation up just a hair, just to give it a little, make that dirt pop. That was more than a hair, about there. Okay, so that is my photos, and I'm going to show you before and after. So I'm going to crop this little guy out real fast. Okay, so here is before and after. So just with the clone tool and a couple little changes, you can change this, especially for what I do in real estate is making things look nice online so people want to walk through them. That looks a lot better than that. Wouldn't you say? Hope you liked the video. Thanks again for watching.